All right, we're so excited. It is Festival of the Arts Lake Oswego 2011. We have two of our main volunteers here, the curator of today's show, Ben Dye. And Ben, we also have an esteemed, long-standing volunteer at this facility. Thank you for all the years that you've given to us, Joan. And Joan, I'll dive in with you first. Many years here. How does this year stand up to all the others?
I don't know. I have the sense that it gets more energy each year. We're getting the younger generation coming along and finding new ideas and ways of thinking about their life with this wonderful exhibit that is very large and sometimes hard to get your handle on, but they have a wonderful time when they come, and that's the way it should be.
Wow. 40 years of volunteer to the Lake Oswego community.
I have to be on. No, I was director for 15 years of the festival. So it's been about 15 years since then.
But you volunteered.
Well,
labor of love.
You never leave the arts. How would you?
You're an inspiration to our community. Thank you.
There's no way you leave the arts.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So Ben, wonderful. We're moving 3 years ago. We did one of the largest mosaic displays in the United States. Last year we moved to colored waxes, and this year, tell us what the theme is.
The theme is the language of sculpture, and we tried to encompass as much variety in the sculpture community as possible, and to delve past just the surface and really get into the process, start to finish, and really get the viewer to connect with how much work and what it takes to do this type of work.
Wonderful. Can you acknowledge some people you'd like to thank for making this event possible?
Well, my committee was Ken Patton and Elisa Rowe and Rick Gregg and Susan Levine.
Wonderful. And again, these are all volunteers
from the Pacific Northwest Sculptors Guild.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And we know lakewoodcenter.org is how they get information about this facility, but should our audiences want to know more about the sculpture connectivity, where can they learn more about your organization too?
We have information online. We also have, printed material here, and we do quite a few shows throughout the year, and find one of us and ask.
Wonderful. And like to our audiences, if you're a sculptor and would like to get plugged in to a great way to get high visibility for your skill set, could they contact you?
Yes, definitely.
And what's your contact information?
The website is www.bendysculpture.com.
Ken, you're on the board for this event, and folks, it takes really like the full year, I know, to put this together. So a lot of volunteer hours to make this come off. How has the show been in reality based on all you'd planned? How's it going?
I'm very excited about the show. I love the variety that we have here. We have bronze castings, we have fabricated steel, we have fabricated bronze, we have kinetic, we have all sorts of very interesting sculpture, and I just love walking through this exhibit and outside and seeing the variety and the variety of the way people work and the way they think.
You know, these shows are some of the largest in the state, some of the largest in the West Coast, and how does it feel to make this part of the Lake Oswego culture attractiveness to regional audiences? How does it feel to be a part of this?
Oh, it's great. I've come to this show a number of years in the past as an observer. I've always enjoyed it. This year I get to participate with some of my pieces, and I'm enjoying that very much.
Awesome.
And enjoying the artists that I'm meeting that have come to join us here.
Wonderful, Ken. Okay, now, Ken, what an amazing display of metal and art and form. This is truly a different type of sculpture. Tell us what your inspiration was.
Well, my inspiration of this actually started with a vision, you want to call it that, 3 years ago. What would it look like if one arm was mounted on another arm, mounted on another arm, all free to float around? And you can see that right here. There's the three arms that I'm talking about floating around. And a lot of my art takes this theme. This particular one, I wanted to develop what's called steampunk style.
Okay.
And there's steampunk as a genre that would remind you of Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the ship, the submarine he had. And so it's like Victorian style combined with fantastical type technology.
Cool.
And that's what I'm trying to capture with this. I want it to look old, and yet doing something that maybe we can't even figure out in our culture, but in some other culture, they know how to read these dials. This is called a mesmerometer. It requires a trained mesmerologist to be able to read the dials and gauges and tell the degree of mesmerizing that's taking place.
Is this for sale?
It is for sale.
So should one of our audience members want to purchase this, how do they contact you?
They can contact me at my website, www.kenkinetic.com.
Okay.
They can find me also by searching Ken Patton, artist, on Google, and they'll find me.
Excellent. What's the price point for a piece like this?
This piece is $48,500.
Okay.
I have many pieces that are not that expensive.
Okay. But this is the culmination. How much time did it take to put this together?
I started the initial sketch of this piece 1 year ago today.
1 year ago.
And finished it a couple weeks ago.
With the intent for this show?
Yes.
Wow. So this show inspired an artist for this piece, and a year later it's done.
That's correct. Okay, this is again is a kinetic sculpture, which, unlike the other one we just looked at, is hand powered. So each one of these, you give a little bit of a push, and it floats around in space. Very relaxing again. And what I'm trying to do with this is I'm an engineer. I had a 35-year engineering career. I'm trying to loosen up a bit, give up the engineering a little bit, have a little bit of free form.
Wow.
And so the sweeping lines, the looseness, the floating.
But with functionality, though.
With functionality. I have very precision bearings in there, so this will float like this for about 10 minutes or so.
Wow. And is this meant to be inside or outside?
This particular piece is meant to be inside, but I also make pieces that can go outside.
So, Ken, thank you very much for showcasing your wares. We're now going to interview Luis Delgado. He's one of the featured on-site artists here at the 2011 Festival of the Arts here in Lake Oswego. And Luis, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You're a local artist.
I am.
Here in Portland, Oregon. And tell us what inspired you to come to this year's show.
Well, the opportunity to display my process, I think, was the leading reason for that. I've had a lot of experience in former jobs where I've had to represent processes and make sure that the processes are properly cataloged. So it sort of came naturally to be able to do that. Plus, my work is heavily process-oriented. There's a lot of steps, a lot of procedures. So I wanted to make sure that I could do that.
So tell us what your genre is. Is it metal? Is what your focus is, or?
Well, I'm a painter as well, but in my sculpture, I deal a lot with steel. And lately, I've been working with steel and paper.
You were invited to the show a while back, and you thought, here's my most prized pieces I want to share. Tell us what your thought was in bringing these to the show.
Well, a couple of them, were made previous. This particular piece right here was actually designed for the show specifically because it's a process show. This piece I documented from beginning to end, so I had to make a new piece for it specifically. So it's got a lot of parts and a lot of steps, and I was able to catalog and document all those steps.
Should one of our audiences want to purchase this piece or something from you, how can they reach you to purchase one from you?
Well, I've got a website, luisdelgado.com. I've got you can reach me there via email. My phone number's on there as well.
Wonderful. Putting your hat on now as a patron to the show, you've been able to tour the other sculptures. What's your impressions of this year's show?
Oh, excellent. They're what I like about it the best are there so many different expressions, so many different forms. There's cast bronze and welded steel and concrete and everything. So you get the whole, the gambit. You get everything. Intense, kinetic sculptures. It's really impressive stuff.
Wow. Well, we've interviewed artists from all over the world that come here to this show, and we're glad that you're from Portland, Oregon. You have some local roots. So thank you for coming. We're glad what you do, and your inspiration, hopefully, to future artists.
Thanks.
Thank you, Luis.